So fourth question. So importance of tropical rainforest, right? So this is one very easy question based on this environment. First of all, the theme is environment, right? So importance of tropical rainforest. The theme is environment, and we cannot go with any secondary themes, right? And moving on with the introduction, you can directly start with this tropical rainforest, their distribution or their characteristics. A brief background about their characteristics, right? You can you will be very thorough with these basic characteristics from this geography NCERT geographies, right? You can just give a very brief introduction of it, and then you can go on with the importance of tropical rainforest, right? So importance from multiple aspects. We can go as per this Ankita's framework, like from different aspects. Its importance in like social context or political context or this environmental context, etc., etc. Or else you can go with the other framework like this importance of tropical rainforest to the humanity as a whole, and what are the challenges that they are facing in contemporary times, starting from this anthropogenic challenges and this nature-induced challenges. That in the context of this increased global warming, frequent forest fires, and then landslides, etc., etc., that is affecting this tropical rainforest, the distribution of tropical rainforest, right? So you can go with this dimension also. Importance, challenges, multidimensional challenges, followed by that how or why it should be addressed. Like these challenges being faced by the tropical rainforest should be addressed, and what are the different government initiatives at the national level and at the global level to protect and promote this tropical rainforest. For example, at the national level, we have this National Forest Policy 2012, right? At the global level, we are having this United Nations Convention against this deforestation, where they are trying to address this issue of deforestation and trying to promote with this afforestation activities or reforestation activities, right? So these are some of the initiatives that like a dimension that you can discuss, and finally you can go with a conclusion. So I will just give a brief recap of the different dimensions. First thing is introduction. Second thing is importance of tropical rainforest for the whole of humanity, or we can discuss the importance itself from multiple dimensions, like political dimension, social dimension, or ecological dimension, etc. Whatever may be the case, like whichever suits you better. But I will go with this particular approach, like the significance of tropical rainforest for the humanity as a whole, followed by that the challenges being faced by this tropical rainforest, like the Brazil is deforesting the Amazon forest hugely for developmental activities, and we ourselves are doing it in certain places, like in Kerala. There is the Silver Line project for the development of metro, which actually impacts this already fragile Western Ghats, right? So we can list such examples from the global level and this national level. This is an open-ended essay, so you can discuss both from the national level as well as this international level. You need not restrict either to the international level or to the national level alone, right? So you can discuss broadly, and followed by the challenges, you can discuss about the necessity to address these challenges, right? And how it is being addressed. This issue of deforestation is being addressed at the national level and at the global level, and then a conclusion. So are you clear with the structure or the broader aspect of how to approach this particular essay? So thank you, Vinayak. Thank you, Praveen. Thank you, Ankita. Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Priya. So thank you. So can we move on with the next question? Fifth question. Is that clear? Okay. So thank you. Importance, English in India, the deviance or variance. So first thing is, even this cannot be put under any particular theme. This is a very new question, very open-ended question that is very much new to this trend of UPSC, common trend of UPSC. As we discussed about this tribal resistance, no? But better we can consider it as a social issue, like the impact of English language on Indian society. So in that regard, we can consider it as a social issue, right? But this is a very unique dimension, which is not so common with this UPSC, and this is very new in this 2024. But for for our own understanding purpose, we can go with like the theme social issues, right? So that is the theme. And moving on with the introduction, English in India, whether it is a deviance or variance. So what can be the introduction here? We can start with the the English, the influence of English since the time of colonial times, like since colonial times, right? Okay, so you can start, give a brief introduction about how English has been introduced into India during this colonial times, and like how it has gradually like came to dominate the Indian scenario or Indian society. That can be your a brief introduction, and followed by that you can like discuss about how English in India is a deviance from the standard norm, which is common in the Western countries. How far we have deviated from the standard rules or norms that is prevalent in the Western countries, and like how it is a variant, in the sense today we have come to recognize a certain thing, like there is this UK English or like Britain English and American English, and today we are having one more variant like Indian English, right? Starting from the accent or the vocabularies or certain things, no, like there are so many things that are very Indian in nature when it comes to usage of English, right? So that is how like we should understand how English is a variant from its original roots. Are you getting my point? So this is how you should discuss, like English in India is deviance from what is very standard in the Western countries, and how it has become a variant of the same roots of English, like already to over what is already there. American English and British English, and today we are saying the norm of this Indian English, right? And followed by this, you can discuss about the impact of either about this deviance as well as the variance, whether it may be the English form of, the Indian form of English, whether it can be considered as a deviance or a variance. Despite that, how far it is having an impact on the Indian society, right? Because someone speaking English is seen as elite, and someone who doesn't know English is like looked down upon, right? And one more thing is, like today this knowledge of English is equated with the knowledge of like knowledge in general, right? Someone who is speaking in English is generally viewed as more knowledge compared to someone who will be struggling in speaking with English, right? So in that aspect, you can discuss about the impact of English in the contemporary society, right? And how can it be overcome, or why there is a need to overcome such prejudices, and like how to uphold this Indian or vernacular languages. And in this regard, you can discuss about the government initiatives, especially this recent National Economic Policy 2020, which emphasizes on this, what do we say, this learning in local languages or regional languages, like learning in mother tongues, right? And how far the government is also trying to overcome this colonial legacy of this stronger influence from the English language across many different platforms, right? So like the replacement of this Indian Penal Code, etc., with our own names like Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, etc. No, so the government is actually gradually trying to overcome the impact of this colonial impact of this English language in the Indian context. So you can discuss all these aspects, and then followed by a conclusion. I will just give a very brief recap of the structure. So first thing is, you can discuss about the introduction of, like in the introduction part, you can discuss about the introduction of English in India during the colonial times and its continued dominance across many aspects like administration, education, etc., right? Followed by that, you can describe about English in India as a deviance from the standard rules or standard norms from the Western countries, right? So how far we don't follow any rules or regulations, like the basic rules of grammar very strictly. So in that regard, how far it is a deviance, and how far that deviance has led to the emergence of a variant called Indian English, right? And followed by that, we can go on discussing about the impact of this English, the dominance of English, right? And followed by that, how or why it should be overcome, and what are the various measures that the government is taking to overcome this colonial legacy of English language. Followed by that, we can go with a conclusion. Is that clear? The structure of this particular question. Is that clear? Like the answer to this question. Okay. So can we move on with the final essay? Final essay, tribal cultures in the age of globalization, right? So again, the theme is, like, one more thing is this tribal centered question. This is something unique, like in general, it is very unique to UPSC for considering the last 10 years. And one more unique fact is that they have focused on two different dimensions, questions from two different dimensions centered around this tribal people, right? So you can expect some unexpected questions like this. So always be open-minded when it comes to UPSC, right? Don't go with any prejudice or don't go with any prefixed mentality or some expectations. Be open-minded, right? So that is one thing. And going on with the like going forward, the tribal cultures at the age of globalization, we can consider it under the theme of this. What do we say? Like tribals, so social issue or socio-economic issue would be more appropriate. Like when it comes to this globalization, that can be related with this economic issue, and this tribal culture can be associated with this social issue. So you can simply club that. Like the thing can be socio-economic issues. Are you getting my point? So tribal culture in the age of globalization. The theme is socio-economic issues, right? So moving on with the introduction, you can give a very brief introduction about the uniqueness of tribal culture, right? So uniqueness of a tribal culture, and then going forward, we can or we can discuss about the globalization, the meaning of globalization. Anything can be your introduction. So better go with the definition of globalization as your introduction, so that you can start by discussing about the tribal cultures as the first dimension of your body part. So define globalization. Let that be your introduction. Followed by that, go with describing the tribal cultures, the unique tribal culture that is prevalent in India, and followed by that, how this globalization is impacting this tribal culture. Definition of globalization, the tribal culture, the uniqueness of tribal culture in India, impact of globalization on this tribal culture. You can go for positive impacts and negative impacts, right? So how far it positively influences and how far it negatively influences. And followed by that, you can go with like the need for protecting and promoting the tribal culture, even in the face of this the wave of globalization, right? So the need for protecting and promoting tribal culture in the face of globalization. And followed by that, we can discuss some government initiatives in this regard. Like we have this Ministry of Tribal Affairs exclusively to look into the interest of the tribal people, right? And under this Ministry of Tribal Affairs, we are coming up with so many initiatives, right? So you can discuss all those things. And followed by that, we can finish with the conclusion.